Thanks for watching Lessons in Minutes with Jaylee. Like, share, and don't forget to subscribe.
So today we're looking at payroll, and at the end of a lesson, you should be able to calculate an employee's net pay. So we're going to go into a work example that will cover that concept. So here we go with the question taken from January 2012, and that is question number 7B. And it reads, David is employed as a technician with a manufacturing company. His regular pay is $20 per hour. The regular work week is 40 hours. Remember, the regular work week is 40 hours. It means that the normal hours is 40 hours per week. Overtime is paid at time and a half. The following deductions are made. National insurance, 4% of gross pay. Pension contribution, 10% of gross earnings. Income tax is charged as follows. Taxable pay, you're given taxable pay and you're given the tax rate. What it's saying is that for the first $500 that is earned, 0% tax is taken for the income tax, right? Anything over $500, the employee would pay 25% for income tax. So basically the free pay there is $500. So the first $500 would be the free pay, and that is referred to as non-taxable pay or income tax allowance. What you're required to do is to use the worksheet, the pay slip that is provided, to calculate David's net earnings for the week, and you're to show all workings. Please note that David worked 55 hours in a particular week. So we're going to go straight into completing this pay slip that is given by the examiners, and we're going to look at each area. We're going to complete each area. So the first thing there is normal hours worked. Normal hours worked. Now from the question, it stated that the regular work week is 40 hours. So the normal hours work is 40. So normal hours work is 40. And the normal pay rate is the rate that the person received, the rate that David received per hour, which is a regular pay, and that is $20. So the normal pay rate is $20. Normal earnings. Normal earnings means what the employee received for the normal hours that he or she worked. And normal earnings is also referred to as basic earnings, right? So, and also basic pay or basic wage or basic salary. So the question may come different using different terms. So the normal earnings would be the normal hours worked times the normal pay rate of $20, and that gives us a value of $800. So remember, you have to show your workings. So that gave us a value of $800. So we're moving into overtime hours worked, and that would be the extra hours that David worked for the week. The normal hours is 40 hours, right? David worked 55 hours for the week. So it means that the 55 hours worked minus the normal hours would give us the overtime hours, and that is 15 hours extra that David worked for the week. Overtime pay rate, that is the pay that the person gets for working each overtime hours. And that, remember, the question stated that overtime is paid at time and a half. So it therefore means in our calculation, that would be the time and a half is 1.5, and we're going to times that by the normal pay rate of $20 in order to get the value for the overtime pay rate. So 1.5 of $20 give us a value of $30. So the person is getting the regular pay rate plus half of that value. So therefore that is $30. Some some employers may pay double the amount, but in this case, it is time and a half, which is 1.5, the normal pay rate. So the overtime pay rate is $30. Now the overtime earnings would be the overtime hours of 15 times the overtime pay rate of $30, and that gives us a value of $450. So that is 15, which is the extra hours worked by David, times the overtime pay rate of $30, and that gives us $450. Now we're looking at gross earnings for David, and that would be, based on this question, the 800 normal earnings plus the $450 for the overtime. So that's 800 plus the 450, and that gives us a value of $1,250. So David gross earnings or gross wage is 1,250. You would have done the same thing if you were asked to calculate the gross salary, right? So that would be the pay for the normal hours plus the pay for the overtime hours. Some employees may work commission, some may get different allowances. All of those would be added in order to give you the gross salary, gross wage, gross earnings. Okay, now we're looking at deductions, and the thing about payroll is that it gives you instructions. 5% of that will go to whatever, 2% of whatever goes to wherever. So it's giving you instructions. All you have to do is to carry out that instruction. So here we go with the deductions. We have national insurance, and it is 4% of gross earnings. And remember, you're asked to show your workings. So we're going to show 4% times the gross earnings of $1,250, and that gives us a value of $50. So national insurance is $50. Remember, that is 4% of the gross earnings, and that is 4% times the $1,250. Next is pension contribution, and we're to take 10% of the gross earnings and put that to pension contribution for the employee. So we're going to calculate 10% of the $1,250, and that gives us $125 for the pension. The next thing that you're asked for is total deductions, but I'm not going to put this in as yet because we have our income tax, which is also a deduction. So we'll wait until we put in our income tax to generate our total deductions. Now, what is taxable earnings? This is a value that the individual, that David, would pay the income tax on. Remember, the first $500 is non-taxable. That is free pay. So therefore, in order for us to get our taxable earnings, it would be the gross earnings of $1,250 minus the free pay, which is a non-taxable pay of $500. Remember, the question stated that the first 500 is 0%. So it therefore means that the taxable earnings that we calculate for David is the $1,250 minus 500, which give us $750. So now that we have that, we can now generate our income tax. And the income tax, remember, the taxable earnings is the extra that the person worked above the 500. So that would be the $750 that we have calculated times the rate of 25%, and 25% of $750 give us a value of $187.50. Now we're working with dollars and cents, and an employee takes every cent important. It's important to them. So therefore, when you get your decimal, please keep your dollars and cents, meaning 2 decimal places once you get a decimal. Round off to 2 decimal places because we're showing the cents, every cent counts. And if the only time that you would round off is if the question specifically state that you should round off to the nearest dollar. So keep the cents. So you round off 2 decimal places. The next thing in line would be net earnings. But for us to get net earnings, we have to calculate our total deduction. So at this time, we're going to enter our total deductions. And that would be the national insurance of 50 plus the pension contribution of 125. And we also have the income tax, which is also another deduction. So we're going to add that 187.50. And we're going to get a total of $362.50. Now that we have generated our total deductions, we can then move into our net earnings. And to get your net earnings, which is also referred to as net pay, this is the employee's take-home pay. We are calculating what David would take home after working that long week of 55 hours. So that would be the gross earnings of 1,250 minus the total deductions of $362.50. When you calculate that, David will take home $887.50. So based on that calculation, David will take home $887.50, and that is David's net pay, David's net wage, David net earning. Okay, now, so this is the payslip that we have prepared for David in order to generate his net earnings, his net pay.
Like, share, and don't forget to subscribe.